I want to show you how a 3-line email just like this one took me from struggling to book sales calls for my own lead generation agency to booking 16 sales calls in a single week. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Jim Fung. I run a lead generation agency. And when I first started my business back in 2022, October 2022, within 3 months, I got to $10,000 per month, right? And here's actually a screenshot of that. I achieved that in December 2022. I went on to scale that business, scale that lead generation agency to consistent $50,000 to $60,000 months. Here is April 2024, where I made almost 60 grand in a single month. And my top month was 2 months ago, back in November, where I made $83,000 in a single month. So in today's video, I'll be sharing with you exactly how to cold email in 2025. That way you'll be making money with your own lead generation agency. And on top of this, you'll also be able to help your clients also get results if you're selling lead generation as a service. So why is this important? This is important because once I figured out how to leverage an effective cold email strategy, it really just completely transformed my business, right? The biggest lesson and highest leverage activity that you can do to make money today inside of your business, if you're just first starting out, it's just understanding that all you need to do is just figure out how to generate attention. And if your goal is to hit $10,000 in a single month, ASAP, you need to be waking up every single day and asking yourself, what did I do today to get in front of as many people as humanly possible? And if you're stuck right now below 10 to 20K per month, what that means is just respectfully, no one knows that you exist. No one knows who you are. Because if you're able to theoretically get 1,000 people every single day, the right people that you actually want to be selling to, and you get 1,000 people to know about who you are and how you can help them, you 100% will be making money. There's just no scenario where you won't be making money. So please do make sure that you're paying attention to what I'm sharing with you today, because this will literally transform your business if you just take notes and implement. And if you're selling lead generation services to your clients, this is also the same process that you want to implement for your clients as well, since you will be helping your clients generate leads by using cold emails. So let's jump right into it. So the very first thing is just to understand how exactly do you generate attention for your business. Again, if you're running a lead generation agency, or even if you are running some other type of services business, this will still apply. And I actually built this chart out. It's called the Simplified Traffic Funnel Overview. And pretty much what you're doing is I broke down the sales process into 4 key parts. So the very first step is just learning how to get traffic, right? That's all it is, attention and eyeballs. Once you get traffic, you're just getting a lot of attention. What that is a portion of those people will turn into leads. So people who are slightly interested in learning more about how you can help them, what you have for sale, all of that other stuff. They're not people that are just ready to buy. All they are leads, right? They're just showing interest, and your job is to nurture those people, and I'll be showing you how to do that. And if you do this process correctly, you would then be booking sales calls, which are essentially sales conversations and the opportunity for you to pitch people. And obviously, the more sales conversations you have, the more money you will make, right? And a portion of the people who you get on sales calls will then turn into a paying client, which means that you're making money, right? So it's a pretty straightforward process. It all starts with traffic, leads/interest, sales conversations, and clients, right? And most people actually get this process wrong, because there's actually a ton of YouTube videos talking about cold emails, right? Cold emails is simply a way to generate attention, generate traffic, and generate eyeballs. That's literally all it is. It's no different than running paid ads, or doing DMs or some other form of strategy to actually get clients. The main difference is cold emails is very automated and is very, very simple to learn if you do it the right way. And there's a lot of YouTube videos just talk about cold emails, and a bunch of people make different tutorials, but most people, they just simply overcomplicate a topic that's just super simple to understand. I think when you're starting a business, the best way to do it is just think about things in the most simplest way possible. There's actually a quote, which is simplicity scales, complexity fails. And that's completely true. So always try to think about things in the most simplest way possible. And the big overarching idea is all you're doing is you're using cold emails to generate as much targeted attention and traffic as humanly possible. That's all it is. You're just using it as a means to get in front of more people. And with the newfound attention, what you're looking to do is you're looking to find pockets of people who are interested in learning more about what you have to say. And then what you will be doing after that is, once you find people who just raise their hand, they're like, sure, I'm slightly interested, I'd like to learn more. All you're doing is you're then building trust and demonstrating your expertise by leveraging something called a sales asset. And once you do that, if you're using this process correctly, you'll then be able to book sales calls with people who already, number one, understand what you do and believe you're an expert. And all you have to do is jump onto that call, close the deal, and just collect cash. So the name of the game is simplicity, right? And like I said, the number one goal when you're starting your business, starting your lead generation agency, is figuring out how can you get your business off the ground? How can you start making money in the quickest and simplest way possible? You don't want to overcomplicate, just really simple things, to be honest, right? That's what really gets people and leads them taking half a year to get results. And I really simplified the funnel, right? When it comes to the cold email funnel, there's really only 5 parts that you need to understand. The first is what's called the cold email top of funnel traffic, right? That's what I like to call it, top of funnel traffic, right? Because it's literally at the top of the funnel. If you look at this diagram, right, it's literally a funnel where it's like kind of like a pyramid. So cold emails is just top of funnel traffic. Once you do that, you're getting interest. You're nurturing people, which I call the middle of the funnel because it's just kind of in the middle over here, the middle of the funnel, right? Like literally, which is why it's called middle of funnel. With that, you're going to get conversations and you're going to get calls. And then obviously you're going to make money if you're, talking with 20 people a week, right? Or 20 people a month. They're probably going to sign at least 1 or 2 clients, even if you're pretty bad at sales. And that's what the cold email funnel looks like in a simplified way. And I'm going to be breaking down exactly what that looks like in today's video. But before I do that, first, I kind of want to explain to you why cold emails is actually why I believe is the best channel to generate sales calls for yourself and for your clients, right? Because there's actually a ton of studies that prove that cold emails as a B2B client acquisition channel to be one of the most effective lead generation channels, right? Some of the largest B2B organizations, IBM, Microsoft, Amazon, I personally worked at IBM, and I see that they primarily sell the products or services with cold emails kind of like as a first touch point in the buyer's sales journey, right? As they're generating traffic and attention, right? So if all of these billion-dollar companies are using cold emails, there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't as well, right? And, it's probably a smart idea to do it if some of the most successful companies are doing it as well. And on top of this, 71% of buyers actually want to hear from sellers through B2B cold emailing, right? And 80% of buyers willingly accept sales meetings through cold emails, right? And a staggering 77% actually respond favorably, right? And here's just some stats that you can literally search up yourself that literally prove that cold emails is one of the most effective channels for generating sales calls and generating leads. But more importantly, I didn't put this on the doc, but more importantly, it's easy to learn, right? Because a cold email, you're not writing an essay, it's going to be pretty short and it's going to be very, very simple. If you're picking up the phone and you're calling people, you're going to learn what to say, navigate the actual conversation, deal with a lot of no's and rejections. If you're running ads, you're going to have to learn how to actually launch an ad and use money to actually be successful ads. But with cold emails, it doesn't take any of those things. So I first want to break down for you exactly the key things that you have to realize in order to make cold emails work for your business. Because cold emails work, it's more about how you work it inside of your business, right? And if you're able to do this correctly, you're never going to struggle with booking sales calls. So the very first thing that you really need to figure out in order to make cold emails work is just honestly having your emails open, right? And making sure that your cold emails is actually read. And this sounds super simple, but this is literally one of the largest problems that people face when it comes specifically to cold emails. They just send a bunch of cold emails and they're not even read. They stay inside the spam folder over here or the junk box, right? Because you can have the best cold emails in the world, but if no one reads it, it literally won't matter. And the biggest predictor of whether your cold email actually gets opened is what's called email deliverability. And if you have really poor email deliverability, again, right, you're just gonna land in like literally inside the spam folder, right? No one's gonna see your stuff. And if they do see it, they're just simply not gonna trust you because they think it's like spamming or something like that. And here's actually a statistic that I found on Google. The average open rate of a cold email is 23.9%. That's less than a quarter. So if you email 100 people, less than 25 people will open your cold email. And here's actually an example of a campaign that I sent in April last year where I literally achieved a 72% open rate. Here's another campaign that I did September last year. So literally a few months ago, literally 3-4 months ago, where I achieved a 64% open rate. These are open rates 70%, 60%. That's almost 2 to 3 times greater than this average of 23.9%. And this is literally the low-hanging fruit because if you are learning cold emails the way that most people teach it, you're gonna lead to getting this result, the average open rate of 23.9%. And all it takes is just figuring out a little bit, like just these key tiny strategies, such as email deliverability, making sure you're setting up all your cold emails the right way, making sure you're following all of the best practices, and you can literally double, if not triple, your open rate. And everything starts at the top. If there's more people opening your email, then you will get more traffic, right? If you literally double this from 23 to even 46, which is still pretty low, but if you double this from 23 to 46, everything filters down, right? There'll be more people who read your email. There'll be more people who literally reply. Double the amount of people reply. Double the amount of people who watch a sales asset or the video sales that goes through that funnel for you. And double the amount of people who, in theory, will book a sales call with me, which equals to, in theory, double the amount of clients that you will actually sign and double the amount of money you actually make, right? So that's why it's super, super important to be doing these things the right way and be following exactly how I'm sharing it in today's video. Because again, right, you follow what everyone else does and you get 23.9% open rates. You follow what I do and you be getting 60, 70% open rates. So how do you actually do that? So every cold email campaign that I send, it consistently achieves a 50 to 70% open rate. That's literally 2 to 3 times more than the average. And by simply understanding how to manipulate, not in a bad way, but learning just how to manipulate the cold email deliverability algorithm, I was able to get 2 to 3 times the amount of people to, number one, know who I am, number two, read my message, and on top of this, it's just really not that hard to do, to be honest, right? This isn't a process that it will take you another month to figure out or a bunch of complex stuff, right? It's a pretty simple thing. So here's what you need to know. You always want to be sending cold emails out of the paid business versions of Gmail and Outlook. So you don't want to be sending cold emails out of @gmail.com or @outlook.com. You need to buy a domain and buy the business email license for all of those domains in order to actually send your cold emails. If you start sending out of Gmails or Outlooks, it's going to look super unprofessional, right? If you're selling a service for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, would you buy a service from someone who emails you from @gmail.com? You probably wouldn't, right? Because it's just not very professional. You would assume if someone's charging thousands of dollars for the service, they could, spend a little bit of money and get the paid business version of the emails. So it's very important. The very first thing is you need to make sure you're getting the paid Gmail, paid Outlook. And what you also want to be doing is you want to be setting up something called burner email accounts. So you're not sending cold emails from your main business domain. What you're doing is you're buying a bunch of email accounts dedicated strictly towards sending cold emails. That way, when you are sending cold emails, if anything happens, you're not going to put your main domain at risk, right? Because at the end of the day, what we're doing here is this is sales and marketing behavior. Sometimes Google, sometimes Microsoft, they don't really like that. And it can actually lead to your domain getting blacklisted. But if it's actually your main domain that gets blacklisted, like the one with your website, with your main business email, none of your emails will make it through. So even the regular emails where you're sending invoices, sending contracts, you're sending onboarding stuff, none of that will make it through, which is a pretty bad problem to have. So you always want to make sure you're setting up something called burner email accounts. Here's what mine looks like. As you can see, I set up over here 30 email accounts, and these are all different, right? J Fung, Jimmy Fung, J Fung, Jimmy Fung, Jimmy Fung, J Fung, Jimmy, right? And every single domain that I buy, I actually set up 3 email accounts, which is why some of them is J Fung, Jimmy Fung, and Jimmy @ right? So 3 different variations of the email address for every single domain, and that's what you want to do. So you want to buy domains, dedicated domains for cold emails, and you want to buy dedicated email licenses, again, strictly for cold emails. And once you have your burner email addresses, you can't just start sending cold emails the very next day. You can't just go out, buy a domain from Squarespace, set up some Gmail accounts, and just start blasting a ton of cold emails tomorrow. It doesn't work like that. What you need to do is you need to do something called email warming, where you're essentially ramping up your email accounts over a series of 14 days. Because if you just start spending cold emails right away, Google and Microsoft, they'll actually catch on because it's actually very unnatural user behavior. So what you want to do instead is you want to ramp up your email accounts, again, over a period of 14 days. And I know maybe you're watching this video and you're like, yeah, I don't want to spend 14 days. Well, if you skip this process, then that's exactly why most people achieve a 23% open rate, because they just get impatient, right? And they skip the steps. If you're going to be doing this, you might as well be doing this the right way and make sure you're actually getting results. So you're not wasting your own time, you're not wasting your own money, and you're not repeating things that you literally could get right the very first time you go at it. So make sure you wait 14 days minimum. You can actually warm this up using a tool like smartlead.ai. That's what this looks like. This is also the tool to send cold emails out of. You want to just connect your email accounts that you buy, connect it onto SmartLead. As you can see, warm up enabled. Yes, yes, yes. That's what you want to do. Very, very simple to do that. And here's actually what that panel looks like, right? So here's actually an email account that I have warming right now as we speak, right? This is the email address. It has my name on it. and I enabled the warm up on Saturday, December 28th, 2024. And it actually has a bar that tells me when I should start sending cold emails. I should be able to start sending emails in 2 to 3 days from now, right? Because we're almost at the 14-day period. And it shows me the amount of emails that are actually sent out, like warm-up emails sent and warm-up emails replied to. And again, right, what this does is it emulates real email behavior, right? When you first buy an email account for the first time, you're not just going to send 30 emails right away. You might email your friend, you might email yourself, maybe 1 to 2 emails a day, and you slowly ramp that up. And that's essentially what this process looks like. So it's very important that you get this right, because again, if you skip this step, right, if you don't buy burner domains, burner email accounts, if you don't warm up your email accounts, you're just not going to get results, right? That's just the state of cold emails in 2025. You're just not going to get results at all, right? So it's very important that you do that. Now, the next point is once you set that up, you want to make sure you have the right people read your email, right? And this sounds very self-explanatory, but it's super, super important because the only purpose of sending cold emails is to just generate attention. But the attention, it really needs to be from the right person. It doesn't matter if you get 1 million people to know about you, but if those 1 million people aren't people who are in position to buy what you have to sell, it really doesn't matter. So if you're selling lead generation to, let's say, marketing agencies, but you end up emailing realtors for whatever reason, you're obviously not going to get results, right? And if your client, let's say you have a client and you're doing the same process for them and they sell, let's say, social media management to the head of marketing at an e-commerce brand or something, right? If you email the founder, you also won't get great results either. So you really have to dial in what's called your ICP. It stands for Ideal Client Profile, where you really want to understand the specific industry that you're selling your services to, who is the specific decision maker at these companies, where they're located, how big are these companies, and more importantly than that, you got to really understand what the problem is that your service solves, why they would want to buy your service, your client service, if this is for your client, and kind of what's in it for them. Right? That's kind of the most important part. And you need help with this, leverage AI, leverage ChatGPT to just help you conduct your research, right? That's one of the best parts about this process is we live in an age where AI really accelerates the process and timelines it takes to do a lot of these things. So with this information, what you want to do next is you just want to build a leads list. So kind of like a list of direct decision makers and their email addresses. And there's a bunch of tools to do this, like Apollo.io, ZoomInfo, LinkedIn, Crunchbase. This is a screenshot of what Apollo.io looks like. As you can see, you can actually do this using a free trial account, so you don't have to pay for this. And all you have to do is just set up the filters, right? So job titles, locations, industry, and keywords. This image is a little cropped, but there's actually more filters. But these are kind of like the filters that you want to use. And as you can see, from these filters, we have Jocelyn, who's the CEO of, I think, a marketing company, right? Ashley, Steven, finance CFO, president. If this is a leads list that's relevant to who we're trying to reach out to, this is what you want to do and how you want to go about that. And once you extract that information, again, you're building the leads list. This is what that looks like. It's going to be put on like a Google Sheet. Right now, what you're seeing is a Google Sheet of my leads list. And it's just a list with like their names, their titles, their company names, and their emails, right? And these are the people that we're actually going to be sending cold emails to, right? So it's very important to do this because, you know, again, right, you're obviously not manually sending cold emails one by one. You're building a massive leads list just like this. You're uploading it to a tool such as smartlead.ai. So this one, where you're automating this process and you're able to automatically send cold emails every single day without you manually typing one by one, pressing send over and over again. So that's kind of what that process looks like. Now, the third point is actually creating interest and getting a reply with their cold emails. And this is the part where most people really think about when it comes to cold emails. And a lot of people really overcomplicate this process because the only goal of a cold email is to simply get a reply. So whether that's I'm interested, I want to learn more, I'm not interested, how does all of this work? That's what you're trying to do. Just a simple reply. No matter what it is, your goal is just to get a reply. Because most people actually spend a ton of time, they waste a lot of time just focusing on gimmicks, tricks. They search things on Google. It's like, what is the best subject line in 2025? What is the best cold email template? And it's really no surprise that they just don't get any results, right? According to this statistic, the average cold email gets a reply of 1 to 5%. And even from this cold email campaign that I sent in September, I achieved a relatively high reply rate. So this number, 30%, is actually wrong. I don't know why SmartLead put the wrong number, but I didn't manipulate this image or whatever the case is. That the image is just wrong, right? Or SmartLead is wrong. But we could do some basic math, right? I sent almost 5,000 cold emails, and of that, I got almost 1,000 replies. So that's basically 20%. give or take, right? So how did I get a 20% reply rate while the industry average is somewhere between 1 and 5%? Well, the answer is because I'm just writing cold emails the right way, and I'll be sharing with you exactly how to do this. Because again, the overarching goal is all you're looking for is getting a reply. You're essentially just fishing for more people to just raise their hand and say, hey, I'm interested in hearing more. And the biggest reason why most people fail with cold emails is because what they're saying in the cold emails is just simply not relevant, right? If you reach out to the wrong person, or worse, you reach out to the right person, but you're just saying really irrelevant things, they're obviously not going to reply. Or if they think it's spam, they're also not going to reply, right? Because of all the cold emails I've ever sent, I always had the mindset of how can I convey what I offer, so what I'm selling, in the most relevant, the most direct, and the shortest, no fluff way possible, right? So that's really what my goal is. How do I write the most relevant emails, the most direct emails, and the shortest, no fluff emails possible? That's what I always like to achieve. And here's actually what most people, and how most people send cold emails, right? There's a cold emails that I received inside my inbox, right? As you can see from an initial first impression, this email is pretty long, right? If I was like a super busy business owner, which I am, I'm obviously not going to open this email and spend 3 minutes just reading through this line by line, seeing what this is all about, all of that stuff. I am simply, as a business owner, a busy business owner, I'm just going to open up this email, skim it through in 10 to 20 seconds, and if I don't understand what I'm trying to read, I'm just going to ignore it. And this email, the problem with it is it's just super long, right? To compare that to this is an email that I send, right? Very, very short, right? You can start to see the difference, right? Comparing this one to this one, right? And yeah, you're probably looking at this and being like, well, this email's super short. You're not really saying anything. Does this email actually work? Well, the data proves otherwise, right? The data literally proves that this cold email does work, right? The best type of cold emails are very short and they're very direct, right? And it's pretty simple to understand why. Because people that you're cold emailing, they don't know who you are. They're not just gonna spend 3 minutes reading through your cold email, trying to understand what every sentence means. What they're gonna do is skim your cold email, and if it doesn't make sense to them within the first 10 to 20 seconds, they're just going to simply ignore it, right? It's just the easy thing to do, right? Literally. And on top of it, Ariana, she also landed in spam, right? Which makes it pretty suspicious. So I wouldn't be too surprised if she has a really low open and reply rate for a cold email. But I digress, right? So notice how this cold email that I have right here, notice how simple, short, and how direct that it actually is. And if you were to compare this one with this one, you can see a direct difference, right? And let me ask you, which of these two cold emails do you think is more likely to actually get a reply? Right? Like seriously. And the answer is probably this one, right? Just again, because of how simple it actually is. And that's exactly why the universal reply rate is literally 1 to 5%, while I'm getting close to 10 to 20% reply rates. Because the focus needs to be about relevancy, it needs to be about being direct, and it needs to have a clear next step, right? So literally in this cold email, I'm literally saying, hey John, are you looking for more customers right now? Yes or no question. Very simple. It's not open-ended. It's a very simple yes or no. Very simple to answer. If so, we can help you find more customers with our automated cold email system. I'm literally telling them what I do for them, right? What's in it for them? Well, what's in it for them is they could get more customers by using automated cold email system. That's literally what's in it for them. So they literally know right away what's in it for them. And I also have a next step, which is if you're interested, let's set up a quick time to chat. Now there's different next steps you can use. This is just an example, but you always want to have a next step. You don't want to just, end the email with line 1 and line 2 and call it a day. You need a next step like this, right? So this is my cold email, and as you can see, it's very direct, very short. It's pretty obvious what I'm trying to say, and it just opens up conversations left and right? So that's really the focus of the cold emails. And when you're first writing your own cold emails, and if you don't know where to start, just follow this framework, right? Always just start with a relevant intro conversation question, and very important, it needs to be a yes or no question, like it is here. You can't just have a broad open-ended question, because again, if it's a broad open-ended question, it's going to take too much effort to think about it. And you want to make your cold emails as easy as possible to actually get a reply, right? So simple yes or no's. The next thing that you want to do is explain why you reached out and how you can help them. So for example, like this, if so, we can help you find more customers. I'm literally telling them what I can do for them and how I'm doing that, right? So that's what you want to do. And the third point is a call to action. So again, what's the next step? And again, there's different next steps that you can use, but in this example, I'm just directly asking for the call, right? And if you do this process correctly, you're going to get some replies. And some of those replies will be people looking to book sales calls with you. So for example, like this guy, "Hi Jimmy, I hope you're well. I would love to get a call booked in with you for Oliver," I guess his business partner. "I have a couple options," right? And he gives me his options. "Please let me know what time suits you. And this is what will happen if you cold email the right way." Cool. So you learned how to send effective cold emails, but what's the next step? Well, the next step is something that I call nurturing, right? Because one of the hardest things in business is literally taking a complete stranger, so someone who doesn't know who you are, and turning them into someone who will happily pay you thousands of dollars for your service. That's honestly one of the hardest things in business. And this is coming from me. And I've been in business for literally 2, almost 3 years. I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars by doing the exact same thing that I'm telling you to do right now, the cold email stuff. And I can literally tell you confidently, without a doubt, the hardest thing in business is turning someone who doesn't know who you are and getting them to pay you money, right? And it's one of the hardest skills to learn. But if you become skilled at this, you will literally never struggle for money ever again, right? Like seriously, ever, right? Because it's not super hard to write a cold email and just blast it to 1,000 people, right? Literally anyone can do that, right? Anyone can find a YouTube video. I've made some YouTube videos about this and just kind of do that, right? With the automation softwares, you're not even manually sending the emails. Literally anyone can do that themselves. And it really doesn't take that much skill, to be honest, right? It's not that hard to write a cold email, right? You're not writing an essay. You're only writing 3-4 lines, right? It's not that hard. Let's be honest here, right? But the hardest part is just being able to turn someone who simply raised their hand. Again, someone who replied back, all they're doing is raising their hand, showing you slight interest, like just a tiny bit of interest, like on the scale of 1 to 10, they're probably like a 2 or a 3, and turning them into leads who are hot, ready to buy leads, right? Turning them from that 2 to 3 out of 10 to 8, 9, or a 10, like on that level of interest. And that's why what you want to do is leverage something called a sales asset. I talked about this a little bit earlier, but I really didn't spend too much time explaining what it is. And one of the most effective sales assets is what I call a video sales edit, a VSL for short, where it's essentially just an evergreen video, so a video you film one time, and it acts as kind of like a digital salesperson for you. Because the purpose of that video is it's just going to break down how your service works specifically, like kind of the key steps. And if someone were to follow it and do it the right way, if you were to build your VSL the right way, what it will accomplish is it will just build a ton of trust. It'll add a bunch of credibility, and it will position you as the expert for the service that you sell. So if you're starting a lead generation agency and you're just doing this for the first time, the strategy that you want to use in your video sales editor, in your sales asset to build massive trust, is just to lead with a ton of value, right? Give unique insights, teach people something that they just never did before. So for example, if you're selling cold email lead generation, what you might want to do is just make a video just teaching business owners how to book sales calls by using cold emails, right? That's the service you're selling anyways. You might as well teach them how to do it themselves. And that's what you want to do, because your goal isn't to sell information, right? Information isn't scarce. Anyone can find the information they need. Just go on Google, go on YouTube, right? Go to ChatGPT. Information is widely available, and your goal isn't to sell information. Your goal is to sell implementation. Because if you're selling to busy business owners, which you should be, right? The reason that I get clients to pay me anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000 for my lead generation services is really not because they can't just go out and implement it themselves, right? They're pretty smart people. They could literally do this themselves if they wanted to. But the reason that they pay me this much money is because they don't want to do it themselves. That's a key distinction. It's not that they can't, right? They're not stupid, right? It's not that they can't, it's they don't want to. So they would rather pay an expert a few $1,000s to save the hassle, save the effort, and save all of the man hours of not needing to do it themselves and not needing to be inside the trenches, just, setting up all these email accounts, writing the cold emails, replying back to people. They don't want to be doing that, and they'd rather trade $2,000 to $5,000 in order to find someone who is willing to do that and willing to do it well. And when you're putting together your VSL, here's actually an example, right? If you're watching this video and you're like, oh, I've never made a video before, I think I suck on camera, I sound very inconfident. My very first VSL was pretty bad, like objectively speaking. And I don't want you to, right? Like the last thing I want you to do is just overthink the process of the video, right? My very first VSL, you could go on my channel, just go to my channel and sort it by oldest, and you're gonna find this video right here. And my very first VSL was just bad, right? I sounded super inconfident in front of the camera. But as long as you're really just able to convey your message effectively and add value into people's lives, then you'd be fine, right? This was the very first VSL that I used, and it got me to $10,000 in a single month within my first 3 months. And the following month, I was still using this VSL. So the January after it hit 10K, I actually got to $20,000 per month, and I did it with this VSL as well. And on top of that, you could always refilm the VSL down the line as you learn more about your service, right? You're taking these sales calls, you're hearing a lot of questions that are very similar. You understand the problems that your audience is dealing with better. Always make a second one, right? This is the second one I made. I think this is in like February or something like that. So like 3 months after the first one, I just made a completely brand new VSL that was significantly better. So the overarching idea of the VSL is you're leading with a ton of valuable insights for business owners, and your goal is to build trust, add credibility, and so that you are the perceived expert, really. And essentially, you will be breaking down how your service works, and business owners will then want to pay you to just implement it for them into their business. And from there, your VSL, at the end of your VSL, what you need is to have a next step. So again, another call to action. And that next step is to book a sales call with you where you would be able to just explain your service in a little bit more detail over a live Zoom call. You're going to be talking about how much this costs, what you need from a client, and just kind of like the logistical details. And that's kind of what that looks like. So once you have all of that down, right? How to get your emails opened, making sure you're reaching the right people, getting actual replies, and building a ton of trust and nurturing the interest that now you're getting, your very next step is to scale the cold email system. So this was the overall cold email strategy. And honestly, from what I've shared with you so far in this video, this is the new way to be successful with cold emails in 2025. And if you were to take a step back and think about what we've covered today, everything that we talked about, none of it was like gimmicks or tricks. All of it was literally business fundamentals. And after working with hundreds of clients, right, whether that's with my own lead generation agency or from my own paid consulting program, the biggest reason why people struggle is number one, just not being able to have the cold emails open and read. Number two, not getting it in front of the right and correct people. Number three, not being able to convey relevant messaging. And number four, just really struggling and not being able to just build trust effectively with the traffic. But if you're able to crack these 4 pillars, you'll be massively successful with cold emails. And beyond that, the biggest variable to scaling cold emails and just scaling up with your lead generation agency really is just volume, right? Because someone who sends 50 cold emails a day will get completely different results from someone who's sending 1,000 cold emails a day. And it's pretty self-explanatory, because I want you to think of your business kind of like this, right? Like a pyramid, right? Or like a funnel. I don't know what this is called. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it's kind of like a funnel. And obviously, if you only have a tiny bit of water over here that comes in to the top of the funnel, some of it is going to leak out like this. Some is going to make it to the next level. A bit more is going to leak out. And by the end of it, there'll be a very tiny portion that makes it to the bottom of the funnel, right? And that's just how it is. So for example, if you only email, let's say 50 people a day, right? Let's say 50% of people open your email. So that brings it to the next step. Some of it is leaking out. 50% of people leak out. These are 25. And let's say from that 25, 10% of people reply back to your email. That's 2.5 people, right? That's literally 2.5 people. Let's say three people, right? And of that, let's say one of them watches your video sales letter. That moves to the next step. But let's say that video sales letter is just not done the right way, or it's just not super relevant to the person you emailed. Well, what happens is now you're left with 0 sales opportunities. But on the other hand, if you had 1,000 people, right? So let's say you had 1,000 people coming through the top of the funnel. With those same metrics, 50% of people open up your email. That leaves with 500 over here. Some of them fall off. So let's say 500. Of that, 10% of those people reply back. So now you're getting 50 replies over here in this section. And what happens after that is, let's say of those 50 people, half of them go and watch your VSL and it's relevant for them, right? So that leaves you with 25 people over here. And let's say 10% of those people who watch a video sales letter then go on to book a sales call, right? That's literally 5 sales calls that you're literally booking just right then and there with this leaky funnel. And obviously closing 1 out of 5 is super, super simple, right? If you're doing the sales process the right way. And that's why it's super important to be scaling volume, right? Because a lot of people, they really do struggle with cold emails simply because they're not sending enough volume. Now, what I'm not telling you to do is, I'm not telling you to just mindlessly spam cold emails. You need to execute the strategy the right way. If you're sending 1,000 cold emails that don't get opened, it doesn't matter. You could be sending 1,000,000 cold emails and they don't get opened. It really doesn't matter. Or if you're saying the wrong thing, or you're emailing the wrong people, it also really doesn't matter how many emails you're sending. You're just wasting your own time. But the harsh reality is 90% of people who you send cold emails to just simply won't be interested, or it won't make sense for their current situation. That's just the nature of it. This is sales, right? 99% of people just won't be interested, and that 1% of people who are interested is going to generate you all of the money. That's just how it works. So if you email 100 people a day, 5 to 10 people might be interested. Half of them will watch your VSL. And from that, maybe another 10, maybe 20% of people will then book a sales call. And the reality is that's just simply not enough throughput just right at the top of the funnel to actually get any meaningful results. But if you're able to 10x the volume at the top using the exact same numbers, you will still be getting enough volume at the bottom of the funnel to be wildly profitable. And that's really the overarching key idea of how all of this works. And that's how I've been so successful with cold emails, right? It's all about implementing the right strategies, making sure your emails are opened, making sure it's to the right people, making sure that it's relevant for the people that are opening and reading that message, and you're inviting them into your ecosystem. You're building a ton of trust, and then from there, scaling up the volume and just 10xing your results. And by leveraging this exact same process that I literally shared with you today, here's Nelson, right? So Nelson is actually an ER nurse, but basically what he was able to do was he signed his first client for $1,500, right? Over here, right? You can see $1,500. And he literally, I started working with him February last year, right? He joined the program February last year. He launched a campaign on March 3rd, and he literally closed his first client on March 15th. So literally like 45 days by leveraging this process. He's a nurse, so he has no sales experience whatsoever, and he was able to do this. We have Brian, who leveraged this exact same process to sign a trucking client for $2.7K, and he actually ended the month last August for $24,000. With Jordan, who claims that it's a case of beginner's luck, but he actually knows what he's doing, right? He started his campaign on May 1st. It's May 8th, so literally a week in, and he signed his first client for $2,000, right? That's what he was able to do. With Daniel, who signed a client for $3,500, another 2 clients for $4,500. Kevin, client for $3,500, another client for $3K, right? Chino, $3,000, his 6th client, so this process really worked for him, right? Kevin, another client or second client for $3,000, right? Brian again, $7,000 in payments, stuff like that, right? And here are just some of the proof of people who are leveraging this exact same system and just making a ton of money, right? Because this system is very, very simple if it's executed the right way. It's simple, but not easy, right? And I actually, for the sake of this video, because I don't want this to feel like, like a pitch or like just spending 20 minutes talking about case studies. If you want, you can actually find some of these interviews on my channel, right? How Daniel went from $0 to $13,000 with his lead generation agency. It's a 27-minute interview. Spencer, $0 to $11K. Kevin, $0 to $9.5K. Tyler, $0 to $6,000. And Chino, the guy over here, this interview was done well before he got 6 clients, but how he signed his very first client for $2,000 without having any case studies. So that's basically the video that I wanted to share with you today. Hope this video was valuable. If you made it to the end of this video, drop me an Apple emoji in the comments just so I can see who actually makes it to the end of these videos. So make sure you drop me an Apple if you made it to this point of the video. If you want help with this to start your own lead generation agency, then the first link in the description is a link to set up a time to chat with me, where we're gonna chat about how you can start your own lead generation agency and get it to $5,000 to $10,000 per month in literally the next 90 days, right? And this isn't a course. This is literally a one-to-one consulting program where I'll be helping you pick a niche, write your cold emails, build out the exact funnel that we talked about today, build out the VSL, build out the sales process, review your sales calls. And if you just follow everything that we talked about inside the consulting program, you will make money, guaranteed, right? There's actually a guarantee in place, which we could talk more about on the actual call. But by the way, that call is for serious people. So if you're not that serious about starting a lead generation agency, please don't book the call, right? Because I will be taking the call, you'll be chatting with me, and I run 2 businesses, right? I run my own lead generation agency, I run the consulting business, and time is of the essence, basically, right? So please take that time seriously. Please be respectful of your time, because we'll be respectful of yours as well. And please book that time if you are serious about starting your own lead generation agency. If you would prefer to just kind of like get a little bit more information and learn how everything works, the second link in the description below is a link to a full step-by-step course that I put together on YouTube talking about how you can start your own lead generation agency. tons of value there, tons of actionable stuff. But so if you prefer to go about doing that on your own, then that's the second link in the description. But if you prefer to just accelerate the journey and make sure you get results in a timely manner, then use the first link in the description below and let's set up a time to chat. But that's basically what I wanted to talk about in today's video. Hope you found it valuable, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.